The billionaire stood at the edge of his 42nd floor office and told the Filipino driver he had two choices: his dying father in the Philippines, or 15 years of service in Toronto. The driver did not argue. He placed the car keys on the desk, bowed his head slightly, and walked out of the building into the December snow. Tension escalation. The billionaire watched him leave from behind glass. He expected the driver to come back. Everyone always came back. A man earning Canadian dollars did not walk away from 15 years of salary for a funeral in a village most people could not find on a map. But the driver did not come back. Not that hour. Not that evening. The walk into the cold. The Filipino driver walked 3 blocks through falling snow before he allowed himself to stop. He stood on a quiet Toronto sidewalk with no coat, only the dark suit he had worn every day for 15 winters. His phone was vibrating in his pocket. His wife was calling from Quezon Province. He already knew what she was going to say. Drop KABAYAN Philippines if you stand with him. Because what this billionaire did not know was that the driver he had just fired was carrying a secret he had kept for 15 years. A secret that would destroy a dying man before the week was over. The driver answered the call. His wife's voice was shaking. His father had been moved to hospice. The doctors said hours, not days. The driver stood in the snow and closed his eyes. He had not seen his father in 6 years. 6 years of promised visits that the billionaire's schedule had always made impossible. The billionaire sat alone at his massive mahogany desk. Outside, Lake Ontario was frozen silver. He looked at the car keys the driver had left on his desk. 15 years of mornings. 15 years of good morning, sir. 15 years of silences he had never once broken. And now silence was all that was left in the room. 3 weeks earlier, his doctor had given him 6 months. Pancreatic cancer, advanced stage, no surgical option. The billionaire had not told his board. He had not told his lawyers. He had no children. He had no wife. The Filipino driver had been the only person who had seen him every single morning for 15 years. And the driver did not even know his name. The Filipino driver booked the cheapest one-way ticket to Manila. He did not pack. He had no time. He walked into Pearson Airport in the same dark suit, his phone in one hand and his passport in the other. At the check-in counter, the agent saw his face and did not ask why he had no luggage. Some faces explain themselves. The billionaire buzzed his assistant. He wanted the driver fired officially, and he wanted his company car returned by sunrise. He did not know the driver had already surrendered the keys. He did not know the driver was now 30,000 feet above the Atlantic. He only knew that someone had disobeyed him, and someone was going to pay. The billionaire hired a private investigator to track the driver down. Within 2 hours, the investigator had an address. A basement apartment in Scarborough, shared with 7 other Filipino men. The billionaire read the address twice. He had driven past the neighborhood 1,000 times and never once looked out the window. The billionaire drove himself for the first time in 15 years. The steering wheel felt heavier than he remembered. He navigated the icy Toronto streets toward Scarborough, his expensive coat folded on the passenger seat where the driver used to place his morning coffee. The city he thought he owned began to look unfamiliar the further east he drove. The billionaire parked in front of a low brown apartment building with cracked concrete steps. A group of Filipino men stood outside smoking, their breath visible in the freezing air. They stopped talking when the black luxury car pulled up. They watched the billionaire step out in his charcoal overcoat. They already knew who he was. One of the men, younger, maybe 30, approached the billionaire. "You are looking for him," he said quietly. "He is gone. He flew home this morning." The billionaire asked to see where the driver lived. The younger man hesitated, then nodded. He led the billionaire down concrete steps to a basement door with a broken frame. The door opened into a single room. 8 narrow bunk beds. 1 small kitchen against the far wall. A single bathroom with a curtain for a door. The air smelled of instant coffee and cold cement. The billionaire stood in the doorway and could not move. 15 years of driving him. This was where his driver slept. The younger roommate pointed to a bottom bunk in the far corner. "That is his bed." The billionaire walked across the room slowly. He passed a small television, a stack of plastic chairs, a hot plate. He reached the corner and looked down at a mattress so thin he could see the metal frame beneath it. A neatly folded blanket. 1 small pillow. The billionaire looked up. And then he saw the wall. Dozens of photographs. Not 1, not 2, Dozens, taped to the concrete in careful rows. Each photograph showed an elderly Filipino man or woman, each one labeled beneath with a handwritten date. The billionaire leaned closer. He could not understand what he was looking at. Beneath one photograph, a date from 2019. Beneath it, the word "gone" written in red marker. Beneath another, a date from 2021, also gone. Beneath a third, 2023. Gone. The billionaire's hands began to shake. He realized he was looking at the parents of every Filipino worker who had ever lived in this room. And the dates were the last times they had been seen alive. "Every man who comes here puts his parents on this wall," the younger man said softly. "The date is the last day we saw them. When they die, we write gone. Because most of us do not make it home in time." The billionaire felt his knees weaken. He had to steady himself against the concrete wall. The billionaire's eyes moved slowly across the wall until they found it. The driver's photograph. A frail old man in a hospital bed, his skin like paper, his eyes half closed, his hand reaching toward the camera. The date below was blank. Still empty, still waiting. His father was still alive when this photograph was sent. But the blank space was a grave that had not yet been filled. The billionaire stared at the blank date and understood. The driver had been waiting for 15 years to write the word gone. And this week, this exact week, had been the week the old man was finally dying. And the billionaire had told the driver to choose between a dying father and a job. And then he had fired him for choosing his father. Beside the photograph, taped to the wall, was a small folded piece of paper. The billionaire opened it carefully. It was a letter, in Tagalog, with an English translation beneath in careful handwriting. "My son, do not worry about me. Work well. Be honest. Make the man you serve proud even if he never notices you. I am proud of you every single day. Come home when God allows." The billionaire walked out of the apartment without saying another word. He climbed the concrete steps into the snow. He sat in his car for 10 minutes, staring at the dashboard. Then he picked up his phone. He called his assistant. He told her to book him a commercial flight to Manila. Tonight. First available seat. Economy class if necessary. The billionaire had not flown commercial in 30 years. He sat in a middle seat in economy, his knees pressed against the seat in front of him, his expensive coat folded on his lap. 14 hours of silence. 14 hours of looking at the blank date beneath a stranger's father. 14 hours of wondering what kind of man he had been. He landed in Manila at dawn. He hired a small rented car. He showed the driver the address the younger roommate had written on a piece of paper. The driver squinted at it and said it would take 5 hours. The billionaire said he would pay double. They drove out of the city into the green hills of Quezon. The village was a collection of small houses along a dirt road. Chickens walked freely. Children stopped playing to watch the foreign man step out of the car. The billionaire asked for the family. A small barefoot girl, maybe 6 years old, pointed toward a nipa hut at the end of the road. He walked slowly toward it, his leather shoes sinking into the wet earth. He reached the hut. Through the open doorway, he could see the small room inside. A single bed. An old man lying beneath a thin blanket. A Filipino woman, the driver's wife, sitting on a wooden stool beside the bed. And the Filipino driver, still in his dark Toronto suit, kneeling on the floor, holding his father's hand. The billionaire stood frozen in the doorway. He watched the old man's chest rise. Once, slowly, and then fall. And then it did not rise again. The Filipino driver lowered his head until it touched the back of his father's hand. His shoulders shook silently. The wife closed her eyes. Somewhere outside, a rooster crowed. After a long moment, the driver lifted his head. His eyes were red. His face was wet. He looked toward the doorway and saw the billionaire standing there in his expensive overcoat, mud on his leather shoes, snow still melting in his hair. The driver's face did not show anger. It did not show surprise. It only showed confusion. A quiet, broken confusion. The billionaire opened his mouth. Nothing came out. 50 years of boardrooms. 50 years of speeches. 50 years of giving orders. And in this doorway, with this dead old man and this kneeling son, he could not find a single word. He lowered himself slowly until he too was kneeling on the dirt floor of the hut. A billionaire on his knees in a nipa hut. It was the driver's wife who spoke first. In careful English. "You came all this way," she said. "Thank you for bringing our grief a witness." The billionaire began to cry. Not politely. Not quietly. He cried the way men cry when they have never cried before and their bodies have forgotten how to do it gracefully. 2 weeks later, the billionaire returned to Toronto. He did not go to his office. He went to his lawyer's house in the middle of the night. He stayed there until dawn. When he left, he had rewritten his entire will. His empire, his buildings, his investments, all of it, placed into a foundation he named in Tagalog, Salamat, thank you. The foundation had one purpose: to fly every Filipino worker in Canada home immediately, first class, paid in full the moment a parent was declared terminal. No applications, no paperwork, a single phone call. He named the Filipino driver as its first director. The driver's first official act was to build a small clinic in his father's village. He named it after the old man. 6 months later, the billionaire died in his sleep. His lawyers had expected hundreds at his funeral. Barely 30 came. Most of them came to confirm he was truly gone. In the back row, alone, stood the Filipino driver in a modest black suit. He held a small wooden rosary. It had belonged to his own father. He was the only person in the room who wept. After the funeral, the driver returned to the foundation's small office. On his desk sat a framed photograph, his wife and 3 children in Quezon, waving at the camera, his father standing behind them with his hand on his grandson's shoulder. The billionaire had quietly ordered the photograph framed 2 weeks before he died. The driver had not known. He never would have known. He looked at it for a long time. Because the men we refuse to see are often the ones holding the doors we will walk through on our way out of this world. Some fathers die in hospital beds in glass towers. Some fathers die in nipa huts in Quezon. And sometimes the only one who knows how to grieve them both is the driver who was never given a name, a rosary, a photograph, a blank date on a basement wall. This is what dignity looks like when the world finally stops to see it.